We is up. We is live. What is up, my man? Got TJ Downing here. We are watching Ohio State beat up on Arkansas State 3-1. I mean, these guys should be getting separation all day. A little pump fake from CJ. Get it to him. Flick it to him. Looks like a first down to X-Man. TJ, when we play games like this that are just awful, what do you get out of playing a team that's I don't know if what's first off, what's the worst team you think you played against in your career? Because you never played a 1AA team when me and you were playing together. The year you left, we played Youngstown State, but what do you get out of a game like this?
I'd say probably the I wouldn't say worst, but the one you would just call the easiest would be like Mac schools. I mean, we rolled out. I think was that the game you got injured against Bowling Green? Did you hurt your foot?
Yeah, yeah, that was an awful one.
I think the hard part to me was understanding that there's a reason why I'm at Ohio State, and there's a reason why that guy's at Kent State or Bowling Green or Akron or Miami of Ohio when we opened up with them in 2005. Not to say that, and it's a cocky attitude to take into a game, but for me, it was like waking up in the morning. I can roll out here with my B or C game and we're still going to be fine. It's not the right approach to take. And I always remember Jim Bowman would always say this to us. I'm sure you can remember. He would look at his watch and he would tap his wrist and he would say, eventually, a team like them is going to come in here and beat a team like us. Make sure it doesn't happen on your watch. And literally, I think like a year or two after that, after I was gone, Appalachian State goes into the big house and they beat
Uh,
Michigan.
yeah, absolutely.
Just you can't
It
let it happen on your watch.
Yeah, we got a. Looks like we're a little behind on the stream, but we got a touchdown here. Nice 42-yard strike. Nice easy money. And we got an unsportsmanlike, but it stayed on the board. So we got an Xavier Johnson unsportsmanlike conduct. So I'm sure Randy will be thrilled with that. PAT is good. Let's see what the box score looks like so far. Again, this is gonna be an ugly one. We're not expecting much out of here. So we
What you don't want to have happen, you don't want to lose anybody. You don't want anybody to get hurt. You don't want to have
yeah.
anything stupid. Like, I mean, Xavier's kind of coming on here. I don't think anybody really expected to see him have that touchdown last week. And that was kind of the
Mm-hmm.
moment where they separated against the Irish. You know, I think if you come into this game and you allow something stupid to happen, you get like a targeting, some type of penalty that could hurt you and keep you out the following week. That's what you don't want to have happen. So you want to play a clean game. You know, everybody come out of it healthy, but just don't do anything stupid. The one thing, if you're Arkansas State and you're rolling in to the shoe, what would be the first thing you would do as a player playing against a team like Ohio State? I'm going to try and get these guys to do something stupid, talk a little
Yep.
smack, get somebody to throw a punch, something, because that's all you have to help you out. Because if you line up and play straight, like you said, Ohio State's going to win. They'll put up 40, 50 points on them.
Yeah.
So they're going to
Yeah.
try and draw you something cheap.
I'm excited. I'm gonna get on the game thread right now on BuckeyeScoop.com. Announce that we are doing this now. I'm real excited about this. But yeah, I just think that these games are, you want to get the starters out as fast as possible. You want to get about 28 points on the board and just get it cranked up and get rid of it. I mean, it's just these games they're they're there to sell tickets, get the 8 home games, but I mean, this is not a game players are excited about. The players on Arkansas State obviously are extremely excited because this is a game like if they show out, they might get a shot at a look in the NFL. But when you're a guy that's playing for Ohio State, this is not a game that you're looking forward to playing in. You want to get in and get out and get your work in and have at it. So,
The
and for the five of
goal
you guys, yep,
the goal is by the start of the fourth quarter to be taking your tape off, unlacing your
yes,
cleats, wrapping it up, and like you said, have your backups in there. If
you just have to be. You have to get out. You
that's the
have
best
to.
feeling.
Yeah, I know it is. So go back to the box score again. This is this is going to be ugly. It's really interesting. Brian Snead did not start this game, so yeah. I mean, he's the guy. What are they get the live odds going? I could put that up right now. How's this Texas game going with Quinn Ewers? The Texas. I mean,
Oh,
everyone's Q's probably getting rocked right now, but it is what it is. It's part of the gig when you.
So I got to tell you a funny story real quick. It kind of came up yesterday. I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was referencing back to 2006, my senior year, and we had gone up to East Lansing,
Yeah.
and I think I ended up, my senior year, I feel like every week, like the defensive tackle or the three technique was like the best guy on our opposing defense. The first couple
Yeah.
weeks, I think, like we played Cincinnati and that dude Bird, he was leading the country in sacks. Go to play
Yeah.
Iowa, Mitch King he's dominating people, and like nobody's punching these guys, nobody's hitting these guys. So when I get out there, I knew what the recipe was. So we go up to East Lansing. We're playing Michigan State in '06. I think we ended up tuning them up like 56-7 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And
I remember that one.
and Clifton Ryan was across from me. And Clifton was a really good player, man. Ended up playing
Yep.
some ball with the Rams. Was a really fast defensive tackle. Could give people lots of fits. And so I was coming into that game like, okay, this is a moment for me to kind of show something here. And I remember knowing how fast Big Cliff was, Big Clifford. I'm coming off. I knew that I had to get out of my stance quick against him, and
hmm
so if you remember this, their linebackers were mimicking our cadence, and I ended up jumping
Oh
offside
yeah.
2 times in that game. Now,
Yes, you did.
yeah, old three Pete. So I remember I'm in the shower after the game, and Jim Bowman talking about him. Bowles comes walking in, and I'm like sitting there just showering off, right? And he's like, "Yeah, 3 times today, huh?" Just kind of laughing and joking. And so we get into films like the following day, and I look at my score. And if you had a penalty, if you had an offsides, it was an automatic 3% off. I see just the flag
MA.
down here, a big score for the Buckeyes. I think it's going to be coming back for Igbuka. Um, you get that MA, and it's an automatic 3% off of your grade. So I look at my sheet, and it says 91%. And I'm thinking, dude, I lost 9% for those three offsides. So if I don't have those three offsides, I pretty much played a perfect game, right? So I remember the following week after that, we're playing Indiana in the Horseshoe. And those guys
hmm
were smart. They had watched the film. They saw what Michigan State had done to me to get me to jump off sides. And so like it was probably like end of the first quarter and they got me to jump off sides, right? The linebacker is mimicking our cadence. And if you remember, we get back in the huddle and you guys were all clowning on me like, dang, TJ, again? Like, man, like
Tweak.
it's gonna be a long
Tweak.
afternoon for you, right? And so I was like, all right, I got some. I'm gonna stop this noise right now. So I line up and we had some type of like 7-step drop, big pass protection. And I had gotten my guy, and I'm kind of like tr- from the right guard position, kind of trailing behind Doug Daddish at center. So I knew that I had like a little bit of coverage from the official, and I'm like, okay, here it is. Do you remember I uncorked a right hand like Mike Tyson, and I hit this dude across his helmet, and he was looking out of his ear hole. And I thought that I was going to get away with it, and here comes all the flags flying out onto the field. Right, I get the personal foul. It was hilarious. Coach Tressel pulls me out of the game, and I'm sitting. As Ben Person is coming in, I'm coming off the field like, come on, man. You know what? They never mimicked our cadence again the rest of that game.
There
Point
you
point
go.
point was made.
So what we got a punt here. Defense held him. Man, you are way ahead of me, boy. Way ahead of me.
Just like my career at Ohio State, man.
Seriously, man.
Yeah, so I think when you come into a game like this, especially knowing that Chick Harley's over there calling the defense for Arkansas State, right? You got a
Yeah,
legacy guy from Ohio State. I think what was he like? Was he like nephew or like grandson of Chick Harley? Rob Harley was
maybe I don't know, maybe great nephew or something. I don't know.
something like that, man. But
Yeah.
that's a cool experience for him to come back
Oh,
to
for
where he
sure.
played. He was one of those guys that was a walk on, but he contributed a lot. He played on every special teams.
Yeah.
Rob Harley got after it, but for him to come back in here, it's similar to like Marcus Freeman coming in last week. Marcus played his ball at Ohio State. Now coaching the Irish, you get to come back into the place where you made a name for yourself. I don't want to say that it's intimidating, but it's a pride thing. You don't want to get blown
Hmm.
out the water. One thing that Rob Harley does not want to have happen is lose this thing like 55, 60 to nothing, right? You want to be able to try and show that you can slow Ohio State a little bit. I mean, we're halfway through the first quarter. It's 7-0. If they can keep this thing respectful as
Oh,
they're driving a
yeah.
little bit, just it's going to be hard for Arkansas State to slow our offense. Ohio State's offense, I mean, it's a well-oiled machine, but what can Arkansas State really bring to the table in form of resistance?
Yeah, that's a big miscue by the Bucks there. Big.
See a couple open seats in the stadium. Obviously you're not going to have the type of
Uh,
crowd, 107,000 that you did last week, but I know
they're probably gonna have about 60,000, I bet.
what's been the response down there in Columbus about the new turf field that they've put down.
The players love it. It's nice and springy. It's new. I mean, it's like you have a new turf. I mean, compared to the old crappy turf that we had to play on, it's like, the turf can get old, and it's just one of those things where it was well overdue. I think they change it out about every 7 or 8 years based on the wear, but I don't know. It's tough because you don't, you use the turf 7, 8 times a year. You might have a couple concerts, whatever, but it's not like it's not like something you do every day, every minute. So I think that it doesn't really get what it needs in terms of, I guess, the care as opposed to like the practice fields. But yeah, they needed new turf in a pretty dramatic way.
I mean, talking about '06, when my senior year, I think we replaced that field, which was still natural grass at the time. I think we replaced it 3 times that season.
Yeah, we
We
did.
were that Bowling Green game that I was talking about. I think we replaced it that game. That's probably why you went out, man. You had that fast twitch going, man. You just
That's
blew
terrible.
out that ACL.
Oh my god.
And then they replaced it right
Serious
before the
concern.
Michigan game again. And like you think about high performance athletes out there trying to cut on that stuff. I mean, to me, dude, there's nothing better than natural grass. But what they've done now with this field turf, I mean, you could lay down there and take a nap on that thing, man. I mean, it's the only issue I've ever had with it is the maintenance of it to be able to get those crushed black rubber pellets to kind of settle underneath there, because every time
Yeah.
we're all sweaty individuals, unless you're like Dustin Fox, where you take your helmet off and you look like Maverick from Top Gun, like that hasn't even
Ah,
broken a sweat, like hair is perfect, not a drop of sweat on him. But for us, we fall down on the ground, we come back up, and like literally those black rubber pellets are all over us. They get into your eyes, they get into your face mat, I mean under into your
mhm.
mouth, all that stuff. I mean, it can be annoying. You really have to maintain those things, rake them out, whatever type of cart they drive over it to get it to settle.
Yeah, we got 2nd and 4 here. This is gonna be this is an interesting one.
I think you're starting to catch up to where I'm at. It's going to be
Yeah.
it's an interesting drive here for Arkansas State.
Yeah, man.
Now, what did I see that they're 1-0. Who did the Red Wolves have last week?
Oh, they played Grambling. Terrible. That's where Hugh Jackson's coaching now. Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Hugh Jackson's there, at Grambling.
Yeah, yeah, he's their head coach. Or no, yeah, it was Grambling. I was like, it's either Grambling or FAMU, but I'm 99% sure it was Grambling. They're terrible. They beat them like 60, or it was like, like a 5 touchdown spread. Quinn Ewers a nice completion against Bama. CUQ.
That's your boy, man.
Damn right it is. I'd love for Texas. If they pull this one out, it'd be a miracle. It's not going to happen, but it's 3-0 in the first quarter. Is almost over in the Texas game.
Yeah, I'm just kind of interested to see how things would work out for him when he got down there. Uh, everybody knows the deal that he went through when he came to Columbus, and some kids just aren't meant or cut to be away from home. You think about how the distance between mom and dad and your friends and all that stuff. I mean, for him, he's a Texas guy, and with the NIL deals now, I mean, you get some of that big Texas oil money behind him, and I was interested to see, with everything that surrounds Quinn, how are you going to play once you step between the white lines? Because there's so much about him before he even steps on the field. Everything you went through at
Yeah.
Ohio State, leaving, money, all this stuff, the hype behind him. But until you step out onto the field and start completing some passes, getting some victories under your belt, starting, being in the limelight, all of that noise is really just noise, and it's just a distraction to you as a quarterback. Last thing you want is your quarterback to be distracted. You start throwing some early interceptions, you get him frazzled a little bit, and then all of a sudden, what you thought was going to be a great career, like a la Tate Martell, ends up being, a kind of a complete bust of a college career.
Yeah, he looks good. He's got him down in the red zone right now. The Red Wolves are on the board, 7-3. Field goal is good. Yeah, this is not an ideal start, but I mean, Bucks got to get rolling here a little bit. Some sloppy
Yeah.
play early. The guys look like they're not really into it, which I mean, I can't blame them just because these games are always terrible to get ready for. Because everybody, the spread's like 50 points, so everybody's all excited about it.
Hey,
Ooh,
they're showing your tree right now. They just did a little highlight of Buckeye Grove, man. I think I saw your tree over there.
yeah, you
Looks good.
probably cut it down, poisoned
It's
it.
like it's like a little wilted. Like it's like it hasn't been watered. Like I think somebody walked past after the game last week, all liquored up, and took a leak on it.
It probably did. Any of you guys that are in here, we got a dozen or so people that are tuned in. I know a lot of people are locked into the game. All they want to do is watch the game. We have a chat open. If you guys got any questions, fire away. But I'm telling you, this is going to be a thing. We're getting this thing tightened up, and we're going to start doing this. Probably do it again next week if I don't go to the game. That's the only hindrance is if I'm at the game, I can't really live stream the way I'd like to. So, but yeah, it's good. I'm just watching. I hope Texas scores here. That'd be great. Make it 7-3.
What was the line on that game for Texas Alabama?
I want to say it was like 20, but it might have gone down to 14. So, Arkansas State touchback. Let's see.
Yeah, I was interested to see, how the offensive line would come out. I think there was a lot of response to us breaking down that final drive from the game last week. And you and I played enough football, especially at that university, to be critical. We're allowed to be critical. A lot of people were critical of us when we made mistakes, right? And I think we were critical of the offensive line in that drive. Although they got it done, there was some sloppy footwork. You're going against high end, premier talents like the Irish. I mean, it's a top 5 team, but one thing you want to make sure that you do here against Arkansas State, from left tackle over to right tackle, is everything that you learned about yourself watching that film on Sunday last week. You come out here and make sure you do the little things right. Because when you're playing a team like Arkansas State and you're an Ohio State Buckeye and you're the offensive line walking up to the line of scrimmage knowing that I'm the best in the country, you need to make sure that you get that footwork stuff corrected. You've got to be perfect. None of that stuff where you're crossing over steps, taking false steps. if you're playing against a team like Arkansas State, there's no room for you not to be getting better. You should make sure that everything that you screwed up on last week, even though it was against a top team like Notre Dame, you get it corrected. You come out here, and when you go back and roll tape tomorrow, you want to see a group of linemen. You want to see 5 guys from left tackle to right tackle that improved and corrected their mistakes. Because we saw that on that final drive last week, man. There was some situations there where, center's out there, he's crossing over his footwork. DeWand had some issues. Though, hey, I said it got it done. It looked sloppy at times. So you want to make sure that you come out here and correct all that stuff. Do all the little things right against Arkansas State.
Yeah, and again, like giving up a field goal this early is not ideal. Quinn Ewers down in the red zone right now, watching this. See if he can get it in here. I mean, they should get a field goal this drive for sure. Quinn throws a fade, dropped. Yeah, that's where you wish you had Marvin Harrison. Who's 0? Yeah, they've got a 4th and goal. Looks like they're probably going to go field goal here. Tie it up with Bama. They're hanging in there. I mean, Quinn's got a sweet release, man. He can throw the rock. He just needs a guy to come down and get it. I mean, he puts the ball right on the money. The guy just has to catch it. Kool-Aid McKinstry, who's got the best name in college football, is the corner. Number 1 for Bama. Oh, this is a great question. Nevada Buck is in the building. So Trey is running now. 7-yard carry for Trey.
I'll tell you what,
TJ.
real quick, man, interesting little stat that I just saw. Egbuka, only 9 receptions all of last season. Had 9 last week against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean he's probably going to lead the team in receiving. I mean he's just that good. He's going to be what Jackson Smith and Jigba is. No one's going to pick him to win it, but he's a superstar. Nice long reception to Marvin Harrison Jr. And we are rolling along on this drive.
So
Ryan Day is done playing around.
I see the question from Nevada Buck, and my answer
Yeah.
is, please don't keep it. Get rid of the ball. You don't need to be running if you're CJ Stroud against Arkansas State. Don't risk taking some type of shot that's going to put you out. Again, the last thing you want to have happen is to lose anybody to some type of injury that could cost you 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it may be, against a team like Arkansas State. I got respect for Arkansas State, but there's no reason that CJ Stroud should be out there running around. This is a handoff game. Give it to Trey. Get Mayan in the deal. You saw what he was able to do last week. CJ Stroud, no, Nevada Buck, please. We don't want him running. And there you see, I know I'm a little bit ahead of you guys here, but Trey, he gets into the end zone. Dude is just he could really flex his muscle and put himself into the caliber of best running back in the country. He's got that capability.
Oh yeah, I think it's him and Bijan at Texas. So it's like we're watching the top 2 running backs. I'm sure a lot of the faithful here are switching back and forth between that Alabama Texas game just because that's the premier game of the day by far. Really disappointing that is not a night game. I can't believe they would put that at noon, but anymore, nothing surprises me. I love noon games, but I know that a guy like Nevada, he's going to do it. Yeah, I agree on my end. See, look, shout out Rob. This is perfect. Airing on the safety, save the QB run for later. I completely agree with that, Rob. See, you got some folks on here that are supporting that, man. I feel that, and I agree. I love Mayan, man, and TJ's been a big Mayan guy when he's at Winton Woods. TJ does a lot of with Stark Media. He does a ton of work on high school stuff, so he sees these guys, and he's been a Mayan guy for a long time.
No doubt, man. And that touchdown that Trey just scored, if you watch Kean on Tawan Jones, he absolutely just takes this guy off the screen. We used to always laugh. That was when you knew you absolutely got it done. When you could take your guy that you were blocking and take him off the screen. Tawan Jones just takes this guy off the screen and just buries him. That's the stuff that we want to see from him. Whenever he steps out onto the field, he's the biggest guy out there. He's a massive body. He's got great footwork. Everybody knows about some of the basketball stuff that he was involved in, great footwork. But for a big guy like that, you know that you're probably going to be going against a guy from Arkansas State that is a little bit undersized. That's just how recruiting works. When you go to a school like Arkansas State, it's probably either because you're a late bloomer or it's because you don't have the same type of size that guys in the Big Ten, the SEC have. So for Dwan, he's going to have to play that much lower today because he's probably got a guy that's a little bit smaller for a defensive end, smaller than what he would have saw last week. So for him to be able to get underneath this guy on that touchdown run right there and just take him off the screen and bury him, that's what you want to see from 79. He's your guy. Everybody, I love seeing the thing. Where were they at? Him and Neil Lyman was it? It wasn't Roosters. They went to Applebee's or something. They were eating like boneless wings. I mean, I don't know if that's NIL or what, but who goes to Applebee's anymore?
It is NIL, so that's why they're rocking that. Yeah, Rob, I agree. This is something Nevada and I, we've been talking about doing this for a while. I got to get a white background on these, but these are just fun. It's just fun to interact. It's fun to talk to everybody. See what people enjoy about what we're doing, and again, I have fun because I really want to have more of this kind of stuff, more premium stuff, more stuff that people get excited about, and it's fun. This is always it's a good time for us. We enjoy doing this, and again, I just appreciate you tuning in because again, we love the questions, the answers. Yeah, and I think Mayan's going to be Mayan and Trey. I can't imagine a better 1-2 punch. I'm sure Bama has a couple of good ones. They've got Gibbs, who's real good, but I just think you gotta give them both probably about 50% of the carries, which is crazy. I mean, they're just so talented together, and I love how they complement each other. And Mayan's the guy that's it's real interesting. He is to me he's the energy guy this year. He's like what Garrett Wilson was last year. There we go. I gotta fix the transparency still, but we're getting there. A little closer.
So it's interesting because our dynamic running backs, our dynamic duo was Antonio Pittman and Beanie Wells, two completely different styles. Mayan and Trey, it's like they kind of feel like the same type of back, but there's a little bit more burst out of Henderson, a little bit more of that fast twitch, and what you really get out of Mayan is just a physical, nasty, punishing runner.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I think Mayan is I think they're both NFL guys. I'm gonna enjoy them both while they're here, but no, I totally agree that Trey's the higher end guy. He's the first round guy to me, and I think that's how it's gonna shape up when they get drafted. Bama's jumping around. Yeah, Bama just scored, so it's gonna be 10-3 for those guys. Yeah, I think the defense is for real. I really do. I think that Jim Knowles really does a nice job. I think that he's a guy that he was handpicked by Ryan to change this mentality on defense, and he's a guy that you really you've got to have a lot of faith in. I made that a little big, but we're cranking on this. Again, you guys are here for the content. You're not really here for the production values, but we're getting the production values cranked up a little bit.
I'll be right back. I get a refill.
You good? You gotta. What are you guys drinking on? Put that in the chat. I'm excited to see what you guys are writing. But I agree on Mayan though. I think he's a different animal. Yeah, Texas got a big drive here, boy. Big drive here. See what they got. Coffee and a Bloody Mary. See, I drink it. I have an energy drink right now. I might crack a beer as we get rolling here. I just want to make sure I got this kind of tuned up as best I can right now. I might have to get a little bigger monitor. I got stretching some stuff out right now, trying to see the best way to watch this. What's the best game thread, or excuse me, game cast. So Yeah, TJ, you think this defense is for real? Too early to tell.
It's too early to tell. You know,
Yeah,
for me, the linebackers instantly look better, and that's where I think Jim Knowles really is going to be worth his weight in gold. You know what we saw from Eichenberg, and I believe was he named National Defensive Player of the Week last week?
yeah. He got the Nagurski Award. Really, really did a nice job last week. He's a guy that really was firing last week and made some great plays.
Listen, the last couple years, and obviously when you look at the Alabama game, you know they put us in situations where, and I'm not the type of person to call people out, but Tough Borland could not cover people, just especially Alabama caliber wide receivers. He couldn't do it. This linebacking crew instantly looks better than what I saw over the last 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah,
Now,
I totally
now
agree.
secondary, I thought there was times where even a lot of these guys that got drafted really high out of the secondary, not to point any fingers, but like a Damon Arnett, I just I never really saw it from him. I want to see guys. Was it Denzel Burke? Was he the one that came up, or was Denzel the one that came up and laid the shot on the guy from
Smith, the
Maryland?
guy, yeah, the big Gus
That's what I
Johnson
want to
call.
see. I want to see physical play from the back half of the defense. But I think the defensive line right now, especially with the emergence of Mike, I mean, they look like they're ready to go. But are we
Yeah,
going to be are we going to be able to, when we play a high caliber team that has good wide receivers and a great quarterback, are we going to be able to cover down on anybody? That's the
yeah.
real question.
No, I totally agree. This is a great question, Jesse. Are there any offensive linemen you would like to see play or get a chance? I mean, obviously, Zen Mikulski's got to get in there. We need to see what we got at tackle for this year. And if anything, unfortunately, whatever happened to Paris, you got to have that guy ready to go. I think Donnie Jackson will get a left tackle immediately. But I'm excited to see Zen play today. It'll be interesting to see if they burn any of the freshmen's red shirts. You got George Fitzpatrick, you got Tigra. There's probably aren't ready to go, but with the new redshirt rule, you can play in 4 games and still redshirt. Which when TJ and I played, if you played a single play, it was a wrap. It was over. So that was always something that I looked at, and it was something that I just I don't know. I knew like once you redshirted in the olden days, I mean, you weren't really even didn't even have your mind on the game. But I love the new rule where guys can actually get in and keep their red shirt for put some of those freshmen in a game like this, see if they can handle it, see if they can bite, see if they're ready. No, that's a great question. Teach, are there any O linemen that you would like to see play coming off the bench today?
It's hard to say. I do want to point out one guy that I was really really high on, and I talked a little bit about it on one of the first threads that I put up when I joined the Scoop staff. Avery, he comes from a small school, St. Clairsville, but I got a chance to talk with him. I was honored to be the featured speaker at the North South All Star Classic banquet. And Avery, he has that attitude. Geez, these guys are trying to tackle Mayan. It's like he's just bouncing off them like pinballs. You're gonna see a flag come in. Mayan just it's so hard to take him down. His balance, his leverage, and that's kind of what I was talking about with the two-way punch between Trey and Mayan. I think Trey, you can take him off his feet a little bit easier than Mayan. Mayan's stature, when you hit him, I mean, if you don't wrap up, he's going to bounce off of you and he's going to continue to keep moving forward. He's always pumping his legs, he's always keeping his eyes up, his head up. I mean, you got to really pop that dude to be able to take him down. But back to Avery. Avery, I watched him at practice, and the Massillon Tigers, they opened up their facility to everybody for the North squad, the South squad, and they kind of changed it this year where you have the small schools and then you have the big schools. So there's 2 games. You had 2 North-South games. You had the small school one and the big school one. And I think that Avery is a guy, when you talk about coming out of a small school, how are you going to handle the pressure of playing at a school like Ohio State when you were playing like D5, D6 teams in high school? You never probably saw a legit defensive end that could give you a lot of issues and push you. Now you get into practice and into a north south practice, and you know that you're going to see the high end competition that the state of Ohio has to offer, and he was messing with dudes so bad on the opposing defense. He was talking smack. He was it was fun to see a guy that enjoyed the physical, nasty part of the game, because it's always going to be there. You and I played with some guys, and I know you were talking earlier a couple days ago that you weren't a smack talker. There's two different guys when you get out onto the field. There's a guy that he wants to get in your head and utilize mental warfare. Then there's a guy like Nick Mangold who really never said a word the entire game, but was just a freak when it came to the technical part of the game. He had better leverage than everybody. He would dominate guys. He could finish them. He had the perfect like pear-shaped body just to be able to
Hmm.
move guys off the line of scrimmage. But Nick Mangold never said a word during the game. But myself, because I was, what'd you say, monster Tweety with the skinny legs, I had to figure out a way to be able to get guys out of their game, because most of the times when I lined up, I mean, going against a guy like Alan Branch or Gabe Watson, I was giving up 40, 50 pounds to those guys. So
Hmm.
when you talk about the science of the game, you got a 290-pound offensive guard pushing against a 350-pound nose guard. Science is not in my favor. But if I can get in that guy's head, talk a little smack, get him to maybe play a little bit higher, get him to think about, oh, you know what, I'm supposed to handle the B gap here, but I really want to take this 72 guy and punch him in the freaking mouth because he's talking about my mom, he's talking about my sister. This guy, like, he did like research on how to talk smack to me. And so I would get those guys to forget about what their assignment was, and then all of a sudden you can get inside a guy, you can finish him, you can bury him. I mean, to me, that was the part of the game that I had to have, because 9 times out of 10 when I lined up, the guy across from me was probably a better athlete. He was probably stronger than I was. What's it going to take?
No, absolutely. Yeah, Quinn Ewers, I think, probably might be done for the day. It's gonna be interesting. Looks like he separated his shoulder or left shoulder. Yeah, that was not good. They got him down first and goal, man, and he got rocked. It was roughing the passer. It didn't look like a malicious hit, but it was bad enough that Hudson Card is now in the game for Texas. But yeah, that was not good for the old Bucks. So it'd be interesting to see if Texas can punch this in from the 1 yard line. I'd imagine you hand it to Bijan Robinson here, and they do, and they get in. No, they marked him short. God, it looked like his whole body's in there. How is that short?
Now, here's another question for you, for guys asking about, who you might want to see, a young gun or a young buck get in there and get some reps. What is the status right now of Mr. Sonny Styles?
He hasn't played yet. So, I mean, today would be a day where if they want to get him a couple plays, get him some burn. I mean, today would be the day, you'd think. Yeah, you see the
Watching
signalers.
watching what he was able to do in high school, and obviously knowing the lineage that he comes from, his dad Lorenzo was an absolute monster. You know, he's a guy that should end up being a 3-year starter here at least,
No,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
he he's bigger, faster, stronger than most of the guys in the secondary. He's a freak athlete. But again, one thing that I was always fortunate to have in my corner was a dad who was a captain and All-American at Michigan, and he was able to tell me that, listen, when you get down to Ohio State, everybody was just as good as you. Everybody was all state. Everybody was parade. USA Today All American. What's it going to take to separate from those guys? What's it going to take for Sonny Styles, even though he had a great career at Pick North? But what is it going to take for him to separate from some of these other guys that's either in his class or guys that are ahead of him, that are playing ahead of him. You have to find a way to separate. And it's there's no perfect science to say, hey, this is why I'm a little bit better than you. Some guys just need an opportunity. Get an opportunity and take advantage of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's real interesting here. We got looks like we're not in. Are they gonna give him this? I don't think he held it for long enough. Yeah, this isn't refreshing.
Marvin Harrison, I mean, his his uh his stature. I mean, you see how thick he is.
Yeah, he is a monster.
You know, he looks more like he looks more like a Reggie Wayne build than he does his dad. His dad was always skinny, could run great routes. You know, wasn't the largest guy on the field. And that was what Reggie brought to the table. You know,
Yeah,
Marvin is just. I mean, he's got the arms. He's. I mean, look at the separation he gets. I mean, when he turns to push off of somebody, there's no way anybody can stay with him. I mean,
yeah.
splitting both of these guys to get into the end zone, Penn State's all over Ohio.
What's the score there?
14-0.
It's end of the first quarter, huh?
I'm interested. You're talking about some high school football up in this Northeast Ohio area. The Medina Bees. You had the All Star quarterback Drew Aller, who's now with Penn State, and I believe he's in the backup role. I don't know if he's in the two deep or if he's third
Oh,
team,
no,
but
he played last week.
did he? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, did a really
Obviously,
nice
he should be
job
playing
too.
this week as well. And
Yeah,
guy, he could absolutely spin the ball, man.
yeah, that's got to be the. I mean, we've had some pretty good Northeast Ohio. I mean, we had Trubisky a few years ago, but I mean, he's got to be right at the top or damn near. I mean, I think he should be starting. I mean, a lot of people in Penn State, I think, are going to start, calling for him to start just because he's been so good.
Speaking of
So,
speaking of Mentor and the home of Mitch Trubisky, and I just got a message here from your old compadre Zach Slates telling me that that Canada North team, or they call them Football North, they're a Canadian team, and for those that don't know, in high school football, a lot of Canadian teams have been coming down and playing the American competition to get better, right? And a lot of times they come down and play, and it ends up being a 30, 40 point blowout. But this Football North team, there's a little bit of a comparison to, let's say, an IMG, where you get the best of the best. And this is what this Football North team has done out of Canada. They've taken the best Canadian football talent in high school, and they are only playing American teams. Now, they've come down, they played Hoban, I believe they played St. Ed's. They came down and they beat Perry inside of Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium over at the Hall of Fame Village. That was just 2 weeks ago. Um, a really nice football team, a great tailback, a huge offensive line. They absolutely got after it. And your buddy Zach Slates, who's the head coach there at Perry now, your alma mater, he just sent me a message and said that Football North out of Canada, they dismantled Menor last night. Now,
yeah.
a disclaimer here, Menor is not the same Menor of the last couple years. When they had Mitch Trubisky and a guy like Tatis Tatarunas, I believe there was a defensive end that came down for us to Ohio State. Was his last name Rice or
No Potter, no Potter,
Potter?
or
Uh,
Micah. There was Noah and Micah both came from there.
yeah, the Menor's a little bit down this year, but it's still Menor. You're still having you have a group in the hallways of boys that is one of the largest, I believe, top three in the state of Ohio when it comes to public schools. So you have bodies to choose from. But
Yeah,
the caliber of talent, is it there? Not right now for Menor, but still, you've got depth, and you know that there's probably going to be something in the shoots coming up over the next few years. I know Coach Triv has recently stepped down and retired, and they'll get things going in the right direction. But um, I think that I think seeing teams like this Football North come down here and push some of these big talents, it's a good thing. You don't want to come down here and play a team like Glen Oak and get beat by 40 points. You want to be competitive if you're gonna strap it up. And this Football North team out of Canada, for anybody who's is big and following high school football like I am, pay attention to these guys, man. I know it's not a full comparison, but again, they're putting something together that's kind of like that IMG Academy, that it's allowing them to compete with the best of the best inside of the state of Ohio.
Ooh, we're getting deep into the territory here, boy. The boys better tighten up. Kid looks like he hurt his shoulder.
So I believe today um, was like a football homecoming reunion for alumni. I know, did you get some of those emails that they were sending out trying to get former players to come back?
Like today?
Yeah, today. Yeah,
Um, I might have. I mean, I honestly, they
it
couldn't
was
give tickets. I mean, I got a bunch of emails where they're literally trying to give me free tickets to this game today. It was just
that.
like,
That's it right there.
yeah,
Have
they
it on the
can't,
week
they
where you
can't.
need to fill the stands.
Yeah, it's like they can't put anybody in the stands. It's like they're literally like they're just trying to give tickets away at this point. Yeah, I figured Quinn Ewers would be. I see that update, Rob. Thanks, my man. Yeah, I just I hope for the best, but it looked like he separated his left shoulder. I mean, he looked good and got him down to the 1 yard line, and just didn't work out. It stinks too. Full start. Field goal 17-6. Not optimal, but is what it is.
Another guy today here for Ohio State that I want to see have some carryover from last week is Jaden Ballard. Jaden had the big reception. I believe it was for a first down late in that ball game. Um, he's a guy that in this game should get very valuable reps in the second half. He should be out. This is a game that I expect him to get into the end zone. And when we talk about who's going to be that fourth, fifth receiver when you go into some of those empty backfield sets, um, Jaden, I think, is going to emerge. Getting that first down last week against Notre Dame, building some confidence. I know Coach Hartline, he believes in him. He's a local guy from up here, played his ball for Massillon. A field stretcher, kind of like what Devin Smith was. Um, Jaden Ballard should have a good afternoon today. I'd like to see him get into the deal early here before the end of the first half, but valuable reps in the second half of this ball game. Jaden Ballard, he should be getting those, and I want to see him get into the end zone today. I like what Ballard can bring to the table.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if they can get two more scores on the board. See if Ryan empties the bench. You get up to 31, 35-3, 35-6. I mean, you can start bringing some new guys in. Texas Bam is 10-10 right now. Second quarter just starting off. Quinn Ewers knocked out of the game. Not a dirty hit. Oh, cornerback for Texas just dropped a pick. Bryce Young not looking too hot today. Yeah,
Cool
I
little
think Quinn
deal they're
Ewers is
doing
someone out of
here.
the
Cool little deal they're doing here on the Big Ten Network. We're celebrating 100 years of Ohio Stadium. Everybody knows kind of the house that Harley built. They just kind of highlighted Rob Harley here, who's the defensive coordinator, and talked about Chick, who was a three-time All-American. I believe the first three-time All-American that we ever had. And they showed the pictures of how the horseshoe was built. Things change over the years, things get better, but to be able to go back and look at those pictures and see, where it all started, the foundation of, to me, the greatest stadium, college football stadium, and even when you look at professional stadiums, there's nothing quite like what Ohio Stadium offers. The horseshoe is different, it's unique, but to see the history behind it, to see how, in the middle of a field, they put this thing up, and it was the house that Harley built, and how people would kind of pull up there, and you'd have cars that would park and kind of shine their lights in, and it was like standing room only, and just the early years of what the Horseshoe was and how it's developed and what it is now. I mean, even from when you and I played, and you were down there coaching under Urban Meyer, and you guys added in the fog machines and the fireworks, and the
Yeah.
tunnel looks different that we come out of now. It's covered, and it's become more NFL like. You have to do
Mhm.
that stuff nowadays to be able to attract the high end caliber talent that Ohio State does. But I always remember, it was funny when we went down and played NC State. I believe that was 2004, and we walked out there, and they're like shooting off fireworks, and you know, it was different. It was a different feel. I think when you and I, and you were still in a backup role at that point behind Tim Schafer, and they had moved me down to guard, and I was playing behind Mike Nee, and we kind of walked out there on the field. It was like, man, this is kind of like what you would think the league feels like. You go and
Mhm.
play in the NFL, and there's the fireworks and the theatrics behind it, and that's what it was like when we went down there and played NC State. And you think about that defense that they had with Tank Tyler and Manny Lawson and Mario Williams. I mean, that was a nasty defense.
No, it was an insane defense. That was one of the best defenses in the country, easily. Not
It might
even
have
not
been
not even really close. I mean, it was just they had dudes, they had big time dudes, and I
that
mean,
that that game. I think actually, well, no, it was probably Iowa, but I think NC State was the start of ushering in the career of Kirk Barton because Shafe had his hands full with Mario Williams.
yeah, and Mario. It was funny because like Mario was probably easier to block than Manny Lawson, even though he didn't get drafted as high, and he wasn't physically as gifted. But I mean, Manny Lawson could run a 4.4, and he was like 6'6", and he's a monster. He knocked
Right.
he got Zwick pretty good on that one play where Rob thought it was a false start, and it just stopped. And Zwick, you remember that play?
Yeah.
They had that coyote yelling. It was like, oh my god, like poor Zwick got murdered on that play. Rob
Chuck
just
Amato
stopped.
was he, he
Oh,
was he
dude,
was he was howling.
chuck the chest, man. He was not playing around that day, boy. I
No,
mean, they had three first round picks on their offensive or on their D line. I mean, that was.
right.
I
I
mean,
I think
that's.
the deal with Mario was if you could keep him, and the deal for all of us offensive linemen is in pass protection, you cannot let that defensive lineman get his hands on you because they all want to do the same thing. They want to stab that hand into your chest, push you backwards, get some separation, and be able to look and see where the quarterback is, see where the ball is going, get their hands up, whatever they can do. But Mario, he had the longest arms. So if he
Yeah,
got
dude.
those arms on you, you're done. You're done. But if you could keep him from getting those arms on you, Mario really, I never thought he was that great.
No.
Obviously to be jockeying back and forth between who are you going to take, Reggie Bush or Mario Williams? You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I didn't think he didn't have a ton of moves, but he was just really, really ridiculously talented. I mean, he's 6'7", could run a 4.4, 290. I mean, and again, like he didn't have a spin move. He didn't really. He's kind of like just a bull rush guy, but you know, tell you what, man, Rob he's got his guys hanging in there as best he can, man. I mean, it's 17-6 right now, but I mean, he's up against it talent wise, and they're fighting. I mean, you gotta give them credit for it. I mean, when you're outgunned like this and you got these guys believing and playing, I mean, kudos to them because it's tough. It is tough sledding.
right. And the one thing you don't want to let happen if you're the Ohio State defense is allowing these guys to put together a couple drives, to for them to go into the half feeling like there's still life. That can be a recipe for disaster. You don't want to let a team like this kind of just stick around or feel like they're in the game. You want to be able to go into the half, be up by at least 3 scores. We talked about it earlier. You want to be, if you're a starter, taking off your tape at the start of the fourth quarter, unlacing the cleats, knowing that you did your work, let the backups go in, get those valuable reps, and then you can just kind of watch from the sideline. But the way Arkansas State defensively that you talked about, and now even offensively, they're putting together a drive. I mean, it doesn't look good. I mean, they're driving. Arkansas State's putting together a nice drive here. I mean, they're chewing up a little bit of clock. They're getting first downs. They're at midfield. And this quarterback, I mean, they're really not putting any type of pressure on him. He's not making bad mistakes. I've seen him right there on 1st and 10. He didn't have anything open. He felt the pressure, so wisely throw the ball away and live to fight another down. You see a lot of teams, the caliber of Arkansas State, what they all do when they come into the horseshoe is they get pressure and they make bad decisions. And you get interceptions, you fumble the ball, and all of a sudden an Ohio State team inside of the horseshoe can take you out of any rhythm you have because the quarterback makes poor decisions. This guy for Arkansas State right now, he is not doing that. He's really you're getting another first down here now. He's operating this offense efficiently. They're having good mesh points between him and his tailback, and he's pulling the ball and he's dumping it out into the flat. And they're really kind of just dinking and dunking down the field. And Ohio State right now doesn't have a huge answer for him as they're already into Buckeye territory. They put one into the end zone right here, and it's not a good flavor. I lost your audio, brother. I can't hear you. Eichenberg, he's got to step up here and make a play now. 2nd and 3, short yardage situation. Coming off the back of that, you mentioned the Nagurski, and it almost looked like he could have had an interception there, but 35's got to step up here and he's got to start flexing. Gotcha. Third and 3, this is where you got to step up and make a big play. 4th down coming up now. Just like I mentioned, you see Eichenberg